So if someone gave you all of a sudden a workforce of 10,000 interns fresh out of school, could they be productive? Yes. Can they be trusted to work untrained and unmonitored? No. So AI gives you incredible capacity, incredible speed, but it's just not wise. And it needs very clear guidance, frameworks, guidelines, criteria, and so on, which I'm going to talk about to make it successful. So this is using AI to accelerate journey mapping. I have heard from my friends at UXpressia that there's lots of content people, content designers, UX writers, and so on the group today. That's great. The methods I'm going to be showing today are not exclusive to content. They can be done for any kind of UX design, but I am a content strategist, so that is kind of my background. So I will definitely be showing how that can help. So a little bit about myself. I already had a bit of an intro there. I'll go very quickly. I am a content strategist and modeler. I have over 20 years experience in modular content with a focus on omnichannel strategies. So if you're hearing terms like headless, the semantic web, structured content, atomic content, that's the stuff that I was doing back getting out of university, and suddenly it's very popular. So I'm a happy guy. 10 years ago, I wrote the book, Content Strategy, Connecting the Dots Between Business, Brand, and Benefits. I lecture at the Content Strategy program at the University of Applied Sciences in Graz, Austria. And I founded two organizations, Urbina Consulting and Omnichannel X, which is a podcast and learning hub, which we do webinars and podcasts and newsletters and all sorts of different things you can learn from all year round about omnichannel. There's a heavy emphasis on content there, but not exclusively. Okay. As you heard in the intro, I work with some pretty household names. This is applicable in regulated industries, large industries, but it's also very applicable to small teams, and I think especially interesting for those times when you don't have a lot of budget or time or fun or access, but you need to get the job done. As you heard, we help organizations have the kind of relationships that people have with each other, which is kind of the idea of omnichannel. We are trying to enable all the different touch points to make sense, to be able to have a conversation. So if I go on an app and then I go on a website, or if I use a chatbot and then I make a phone call, can the brand keep a consistent, normal human conversation? It's actually pretty difficult for most brands to do this. So this is kind of our meta mission for both Urbina Consulting and Omnichannel X. Our focus as a company is to fill the implementation, execution, and scaling gap. We have consultant in the name, but we're all about delivering results, not just recommendations or reports. And we are trying, and I'm going to focus in this, and like all this methodology is about going deep into that overlap between business. I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about how to build your AI methods and strategy. There's my favorite book on strategy is called Good Strategy, Bad Strategy by Richard Rummelt. It's one of the only strategy books that makes strategy, I think, concrete, actionable, non-fluffy, fancy words kind of strategy. It's about getting strategies that actually do something. So he says a strategy is not complete without all three of these things: a diagnosis, a method, and actions. So the diagnosis is kind of what's happening, what's holding us back. It's a thorough analysis of the situation. Your method, the method that I'm going to talk about in this is how can we diagnose better? How can we use AI and customer journey mapping to build our strategies better? What are the methods we can adopt? And in terms of actions, I'm going to show you some examples of actions that have helped in past projects and talk a little bit about what you can do next after this. So what's happening? I said at the beginning, I'm an omni-channel specialist. I just want to double click a little bit on what that means. So we used to say multi-channel back in the day, the .com era, about 22 years ago, when we were talking about the ability to do the same thing on multiple channels, publish out the same content or deliver the same functionality. So all the channels are available. So I can buy online, or I can buy in a store, or I can buy by email or whatever. Omnichannel is more than making all the channels equivalent or available. It's about thinking about them as an entire experience and designing that entire experience. We are moving away from an attention economy to an intimacy economy. Let's say up to a decade ago or even 5 years ago, we were talking a lot about the attention economy. How do we get clicks? How do we get likes? How do we get engagement? Which is all well and good, but none of these things are actually uh, long lasting. Like we don't sell clicks unless you're Google or Instagram. You're not selling clicks as your business. Usually, we're trying to do something else, and that something else requires that we build relationships. This is an article which came out quite a while ago now, called "Is User Experience Taking Over from Customer Experience?" And it looks at the traditional SaaS sales cycle. This is applying to SaaS, but I think this applies to the way that all brands are changing their relationship with their customers today. I've crossed out customer journey map because for me, this is not a customer journey map. And if you're a UXpressure user, I hope it's not a customer journey map for you too. Um, Back in the day, there was this big divide between sales and marketing content and experience, and then post-sale support documentation and training content and experience, where we got to actually, we sold the thing and then we used the product. With product-led growth and self-serve and subscription-based models, which just about every business is moving to of every kind, you have content at every stage of the relationship. You have content to get people to engage, to give you their data, to sign up for information, to go further along their journeys, to buy the product, then to use the product, then to use the product more effectively because they don't know all the features you have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then as we have developed that relationship, we want content that feeds them back into the beginning to make them aware of new features or new things that we can add that are additional add-ons and buyable extensions. So the relationship between experience, product, and content has gone like this. The way that I look at it is that we have our user who we have to build beautiful experiences. We have to do design and visuals and UI and affordance and all that good stuff to make sure that our user has a good experience. But what they're trying to get to is their objective. That can often be content itself. If they want to watch something or learn something, or they're getting to their objective, which is to consume that content. So all of this has to work as one unified, coherent thing. And if they have a beautiful experience that ends in bad content or a bad result, all that experience that we did leading up to that is kind of wasted. So how can we diagnose better? When I talk about AI, one of the first things I try to do is reframe it, talk about it in a different way. And I'm going to take about this again and again and again. AI is good at doing tasks, not jobs. That's actually a quote from the CEO of OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT. He said this himself. The AI is good at doing particular things that you assign it, but saying, okay, that's entire human's job, we can replace that with an AI, that's extremely rare. So we're looking for how it can help you, not replace you. And that's from something for you to know, but also whenever someone talks to you about how you can use AI and is looking for reductions in headcount, that's probably not going to be what you're going to get out of it. What we're going to get out of it is acceleration. So I talk about AI as having 10,000 inexperienced interns. So if someone gave you all of a sudden a workforce of 10,000 interns fresh out of school, could they be productive? Yes. Can they be trusted to work untrained and unmonitored? No. So AI gives you incredible capacity, incredible speed, but it's just not wise, and it needs very clear guidance, frameworks, guidelines, criteria, and so on, which I'm going to talk about to make it successful. What is very cool is you can start to subdivide these 10,000 interns into specialisms. And a lot of people are treating AI like like Google, or like a chat bot. They kind of will just chat with it randomly, or they will just kind of go in and ask a question. I'm going to show you how AIs can be built to create these portable assistants who have specific knowledge, capabilities, and skills. Coming back to how this fits across your overall strategy, AI is getting a lot of action at the, let's say, delivery stages. People want to give people a chatbot, or can we deliver through a chatbot, or can we kind of replace our website with more AI, et cetera, et cetera. You can use AI across the entire life cycle of your products and your content. So we're looking at how you can use AI for example, transcribing interviews, or phone calls. You have trainers, you have salespeople, you have support people, you have chatbots where there's long form content coming in. You can use AI to transcribe that, to analyze sentiment, to extract insight, to analyze that and turn it into data so that you can feed it into your modeling and ideation phases of your work. So where you can do requirements development, things like AI interview substitutes, which we're going to talk about in a while, journey mapping, metadata design, interaction or conversation design, or things like auto tagging and deduplication, looking at the assets you do have that are all over your business and starting to put some order on them automatically. Then at the ideation and drafting, we can use things like reuse recommendation engines. So if you have lots of assets in your company, if you've done designs, if you've done projects, or if you are in content, if you've created content assets, even if you have technology which theoretically allows you to reuse that, how do you know it's there? So we're looking at working with our clients to build reuse recommendation engines, telling people internally within their business, did you know that you wrote this a year ago, or that one of your colleagues in another department already created something that you can just use in your project? Also for content brainstorming, especially for things like personalization planning and personalization variant generation. When we're talking about omnichannel, we're often talking about varying the content from a core to channel specific, or audience specific, or application or industry specific. There's lots of technology out there, but people have trouble planning and creating all these different variants, and AI can really help with that. And then, yes, at the delivery stage, we can do recommendation engines, we can do chatbots, we can do data analysis when we're looking at delivering and measuring. So, and that feeds back into your diagnosis for the next round. My point here is don't confine AI to any one area or phase. Think about AI as spell check. It's going to be part of every application that you use, and just a standard part of all technology stacks across the system. And that's a matter of making them all work together. So my kind of long form reframing, AI enables us all to be programmers without being coders. Back in the day, when we wanted an application, we had to think about what we wanted, go to a translator, which was a software coder, and explain to them what they wanted. Even we might even have another translator, like called a business analyst, in between, who took our requirements and explained it in another more specific language to the actual coders, so that they could explain it to the computer, so that the computer could do things for us. Now with AI, those who can best understand the problem, its context, its constraints, the intended result, and are able to express that logically and clearly, vigilant for their own and the AI's bias, will win the future. Now, the idea is we can get the computer to do stuff by explaining to it in what we want in normal words. So what methods can we actually adopt here to do that? So I'm going to talk about personas and journeys. I think all of you are aware of what personas and journeys are. I'm going to show you our methodology, and then talk about how we can use AI to supercharge this. So I describe a journey as questions over time. So whether you're answering the questions with visual design or whether you're answering them with content, uh, I I ask my clients to envision the journey map as somebody having an overall question, which breaks down into other questions. So like if I wanted to apply for a bank loan, uh, I have that like, how do I apply for a bank loan is my top level question. But that breaks down into multiple questions over time. At the beginning, I have questions like, what kind of loans are there? I don't even know. Or like, am I eligible for a loan? What should I talk to my bank? Should I talk to several banks? These are all beginning questions. And then as I go through my journey and I get those questions answered, other questions will reveal themselves. And we don't want to just deliver all the answers at once, because that would overwhelm and upset our users. We want to understand how they break down over time and understand how we are adding value to this process with what we're delivering. We also want to multiply that by emotions. Not all questions are equally important. Should I use chat or the website is not as emotionally urgent a question as, am I going to get this loan or not? And then context. So different people in different situations will experience the same questions differently. So if I lose my bank card, that's different than my mother losing her bank card while she's on vacation. So the context is where we get into the who, what, when, where, why of these journeys. And for the content people here, this is where we map together content design, experience design, and things like taxonomy and metadata, where we're breaking down all of our data about our audiences, their persona, their audience, their segment, what situation they're in, the life moment, the time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of these things help us tag, link, and measure our designs and our content. So our methodology using our friends at UXpressia looks like this. We have our persona over there. They have a goal up the top. We have their narrative, of course, which is telling their story. We always do it in the first person. We don't say the user does this, the user does that, because I have literally found the difference in meetings when the customers come up with better ideas, when they have to role play, when they are pretending to be like they're experiencing the movie of the persona's life. They're not talking about this person as a data point on a spreadsheet. Then their questions, either in general or for this moment, geography, channel, and persona. Of course, channels and touch points. And then the answers are components. They can be visual design components if you're a UX, UI person, or if you're a content person, and you've heard about this kind of Lego type content where we're reusing it the same way we reuse component architectures in a design system. Here's where we're defining our reusable knowledge. Because when the same questions come up in different journeys in different situations, that's when we can identify exactly what's the content that's going to answer this question. And are we properly componentizing it so that it's reusable on different channels, different experiences, and so on. And then, especially important, is mapping that to calls to action and metrics. How do we know that the person is moving along their journey? How do we know that whatever we have delivered is actually doing the job? What metrics are we going to use to measure this? And then also, what metrics will we generate? What new information might be available at this point in the journey? This journey structure has changed my career because it's brought everybody together. Everybody can talk about, how are we going to measure this? How is this going to move our KPIs forward? Everyone can kind of identify with the user and their experience because we can see it. And then if you map that to content, for me, it's been the missing link to get UX people and business people and other people in the business to actually understand where content fits in and where it can help. So that brings us to the RAUX method. So RAUX, don't be scared of the TM there. RAUX stands for Rapid AI-Powered User Experience. This is a QR code which you can scan right now. That will take you to a PowerPoint, which is the full RAUX guide. That file is being continually updated. Anything AI-based, of course, is constantly moving. So I'm literally updating it probably once a week. So that's a link to the actual PowerPoint, and you can just keep downloading it every now and then. And you'll see the changes keep coming in. If you want to get in touch with me, you can sign up for our newsletter, and we can start updating you on when updates are available in the method. So what is RAUX? RAUX is a methodology for accelerating audience-centric design and planning for omnichannel. I put content in brackets there. As I said, it's not necessarily for content, but if you are doing content, it really does help. And we found it to be really transformative. By using generative AIs, for example, ChatGPT, you can create infinitely patient personas to walk through as many journeys as you want. So there's a link there, which is the same as the QR code. The idea is that we can spin up our personas as in AI, and we can even create artificial colleagues that might be junior designers or junior writers who can help us drive this whole operation and be much more efficient than we would be on our own. Or, of course, our team's more efficient than we would be on our own. This is not a sales pitch. All of this stuff is free. I'm giving all of it away. All I want is your feedback. And if you have any questions, then I'm interested to know how we can improve this. So RAUX helps with research acceleration, AI interview substitutes, as I mentioned, journey mapping, task analysis, personalization planning, personalization variant generation, content drafting, both structured and unstructured content. So you can teach it your content structures, which I'll show you briefly how to do. And you can also just brainstorm in an unstructured way. And also wireframes and mockups, which is coming soon because ChatGPT is now able to actually create code. And if you've seen some of the videos online, you can start to create prototypes even though you don't know how to code. So we're going to be presenting methodologies for how non-programmers can start to create their own actual interaction-ready prototypes with AI. So I've got the little circle here. We educate, we ideate, and we validate. But even immediately when we educate, we validate. So we're definitely not just trusting the AI. As I said, it's an untrained intern. We have to check its work often. Just a quick note, as of yesterday, OpenAI has introduced this thing called GPTs, where you can create custom versions of ChatGPT that combine instructions, extra knowledge, and any combination of skills. So basically, what I have been doing with RAUX for a few, 6 months now, they have now made an official part of the product. So now you can create your little personas and you can share them as little mini applications, which anybody in your business or even outside your business can use. And if you can find a way to monetize that, maybe you can even sell your research in AI form. So when to RAUX? The point of this is when you need, for example, a quick illustrative example, possibly to win budget for more research and validation. I know that the research purists will be disgusted by the idea of using AI. I'm aware of this. But this is, as we said, and as you heard in the introduction, this is a way to get somewhere faster. And if you want to use it as a pitch tool, you can create quick journey maps and quick personas and say, look, this is what I was able to do with a little information and budget I have. Give me more money so that I can validate this properly, so that I can talk to users, so that we can run focus groups, so that we can run surveys to validate this information. Whenever you just need a proxy. So you're not allowed or can't access the actual audience. So let's say you have survey data, you have UX research data, but that's all you have. You can't get money for more, and you're not allowed. A lot of content people may not be allowed. It also could be for legal reasons, could just be for time. You're on some ridiculous time scale and you need to work with whatever you have. When it's a new product, so if you're releasing a first of its kind or first of its kind in that market, so you just don't have any valid interviewees available, maybe you can use RAUX to simulate them. Or when you aren't a UX researcher yourself or aren't being provided with the source research or the quality or the detail you need for your role. So a lot of the content people out there will recognize themselves in that bullet point because we often get UX research or customer journey maps that have not thought about content, which is why we invented our methodology. So you can extend what you have to fill the needs of whatever your particular design goals are. So RAUX is not there to replace you or to replace customers. It's there to bring the available research to life. You may have a lot of research, you may have very little research, but whatever you have, it's to get you there faster. You already saw in the introduction a demonstration of using, one paragraph to create a persona. We've used that in projects to get us started. As you saw, you can get goals, you can get frustrations, problems, all sorts of like those quotes, all sorts of things just from that one paragraph. With RAUX, we can take that further, but we recommend, as I said, using structured, well thought out instructions to make sure that your AI works reliably and efficiently. So this is a structure that we use. The following could be split across multiple prompts if your needs are complex. So when we're prompting, we often use actual hashtags. So we use hashtags in a consistent way so the AI can kind of learn when I give a context hashtag, that means I'm specifying if the AI should take any specific role or should understand anything particular about the task I'm about to give it. I give it guidelines. So, for example, ethical considerations, or if I prefer thorough step-by-step thinking, or I want it to give me quick answers, or any other guidelines about how I want it to write, how I want it to respond. The task itself. Oh, my animations are a bit funny there. And then a framework. So any shortcuts or other frameworks you want to work in. So if you're working, for example, in double diamond design, or if you're working in formal design thinking, or if you're working in agile stories, if you have any particular format or framework that you would like your responses to be in, fallback. So specify what to do when in doubt. If you have anything where you think the AI might not know what to do, you can specify what to do. And then validation. So specific criteria for desirable or undesirable responses. And you can also show examples of desirable or undesirable responses. So we've used these in what we call custom instructions. Some AIs have the idea of custom parameters or custom instructions. So what these do is they set up an environment for your work once, and then they apply it to all responses in all sessions and interactions for which they're enabled. So in ChatGPT, at the time of writing, there's something called customs instructions next to your profile name. So I'm going to show you how to do where this is on my ChatGPT. So if I go down here, I can see custom instructions, and I've told it about myself. So I'm a content strategist, B2B marketer, specializing in blah, blah, blah. And then I put in my usual tone, how I want it to be speaking to me. And I, for example, tell it to avoid the kinds of things that ChatGPT can be bad at, like throwing in super enthusiastic words and terminology. And then down at the bottom, oh, why is that happening? Custom instructions. There. Down here, you can see I've given it a ton of stuff that's supposed to apply to all new chats of how I'd like to respond. I'm going to show you that in detail here. The custom instructions for RAUX look like this. I say context. I will often assign personas for UX research, supplying a scenario for to work through in stages, sometimes seeking your stage suggestions. So basically, I'm telling it, you're going to be my persona. I'm a UX researcher, and we're going to do journey mapping together. And sometimes I will give it a stage. Sometimes I'll ask it, what would you do next? So we set a clear context. Then guidelines. Once assigned a persona, maintain it unless instructed otherwise. I will provide you journey stage context, and you'll reply stage by stage according to the headings that I give you. So we set clear guidelines. Then I give it a framework. So this is just a tip that we have. I know we said that you don't have to learn any special commands or any codes or anything like that, but what I like to do is I set up shortcuts. So I explain to ChatGPT the idea of command and behavior pairs. So I tell it to execute the behavior upon hearing the command and utilizing any input that I give it. So these provide me some shortcuts. So for example, I've defined the list shortcut, and that is to list known commands, including this one, and the learn command, which is to learn the new data. Incorporate this data into the profile that you're assembling for the current task. Respond done when completed. And then the JStage command. So here, I've actually taught it our journey mapping structure. So the JStage command takes a context and crafts a whole new journey stage based on the provided headings. So I give it the headings of our journey structure, which is goals, narrative, questions, problems, sentiment, and the tasks, which are grouped into certain subcategories. And so I've basically taught ChatGPT to be a journey mapping machine. So every time I start a new chat, it knows how to do these basic things. So if I go into any new chat, I start a new chat, and I say list, ChatGPT knows the default behaviors I'm going to work with on a regular basis. So you can customize this for your needs, but for me, this is a good list to start with. And then I'm going to show you how to teach different personas, different subtasks. Okay, so examples. This is the part where it gets exciting. I'm actually this is going slower than I thought, so I'm going to show you more than go through the slides. I'm going to show you how to train a persona. When you get the slides, you'll be able to go through this. But basically, I'm going to show you an example here. Where's my before and example for examples? So as you saw in the intro, Expressia lets you put together personas quite easily. So as I mentioned, I teach in a university. So this is an example of a grocery store manager persona that I had my students do in their master's course. This is their original persona. And then this is the AI improved one. So here, the differences are not hugely obvious, but you can see the AI one is a bit more detailed. So it's kind of made things longer. It's bolded things it thinks are important. It's also elaborated. For example, here it just said increase sales and customer loyalty, ensure that the consistent availability of stock, and it's kind of given a bit more flesh to that. Boost sales and customer loyalty by offering high quality products, ensure consistency of stock to meet customer needs and prevent sales loss. So it adds more color and detail and structure. So that's very useful. What we then do is then we can train an AI to be this person. So I'm going to show you. I would take Gloria, and I would start a new ChatGPT session. And I would say learn, which is my shortcut for learning. And then I'm going to copy and paste that bit of the prompt that you had in the slide there. So from now on, you're going to be this persona, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just going to take that because this is the full prompt. Because I'm using the learn shortcut, I don't have to say all that. I can just say this is learn this. You're going to be this persona. and it says done because it knows that it's Gloria. So I would go back and forth and say, learn and give it its goals, frustrations, et cetera, et cetera. And so all the research you have, you load up into this AI and it becomes Gloria. And so I can eventually, when it's all loaded up, I'm going to do this quickly, we test our persona. So once you've loaded all the research, test your persona with these prompts. I'm going to ask it, how are you doing today? Ah, that's not a very interesting response. Let's try what challenges are on your mind. It's very interesting because ChatGPT is changing every week. So sometimes you get some difference. Yeah, okay. So it's responding with my persona information. So Gloria says some challenges might be undermining cloud, etc., but it's speaking in the third person. So it didn't used to do that. So I'm going to adjust this. And I'm just going to say, learn, always reply as the persona in first person. I'm going to put that back in the prompt so I don't have to say that each time. And now I'll say, how are you doing? Okay, so a bit better now. Then because I've already trained it for how to work with my journey maps, I can use my JStage command, which it knows that I'm going to walk it through a customer journey. So I'm going to say, I am presenting you live to an audience of UX researchers. How do you feel about that? What do you want to do? Okay, and so it starts replying in the structure of my journey map. So she wants to effectively present her managerial experience and the strategies I employ to enhance customer satisfaction. And she's talking about the situation. Gloria is standing in front of an audience of UX researchers ready to share insights from my journey as a grocery store manager. Her questions, her problems, etc. And if I want to say, do you have any more questions? It's extremely good at elaborating on any of these particular areas. So if you want more detail, if you want less detail, you can go as deep as you want into any aspect of the journey mapping. The result looks like this. So this is a real result from a real project. I've anonymized it. We've got two personas. I've got Sarah, who is a wellness-driven parent, and I've got Alex, who's a Gen Z. And this is a two-persona journey. And so we're going through the story of Sarah and Alex as they navigate. Alex is a teenager and she's going to go to school. She and her mother both have sleep problems, and they're both looking at how stress and sleep affect, your work performance and your school performance. Is she going to get good grades? The mother is worried about her grades and her going to university. She's also worried about her own performance at work. And so we go through their parallel stories. And so this was all generated using the RAUX methodology. It's an extremely rich journey map with a lot of detail and color, which helps teams collaborate around this. It produces the quotes for me. the sentiment words, etc. You are, of course, validating this. If it doesn't make sense, if it doesn't suit your needs, you adjust it and you give it new input, or you just edit the result. I'm not suggesting that you just you become copy and pasters, but it is very, very, very useful starting information to give you quick starting material for you to edit and turn into really good journey maps. Then the exciting part is where the humans come back in, which is, so what are we going to do about that? What are the ideas or opportunities? And so the journey map of bringing the research to life is much faster. So now we can sit down and say, okay, well, what are we going to do? We're going to do podcasts. And at a high level of maturity, we would own the podcasts. At a low level of maturity, we would just do ads and focus on outreach. If we were going to do podcasts, here's what we could, draw insights about. We could reuse this across multiple channels. We could develop these into articles as well as podcasts. These are all ideas that the human beings come up with. What particular content you need? Do you have it? Do you need to update it? Is it third party? So all this stuff this is this is human being work, but we've gotten to it much faster. So we've gotten to a point where we can sit down and go, okay, well, how are we going to personalize? We can use the custom URL that can drive our personalization. We are going to generate previous link activity. So we're going to generate information about topical interests. So what interests are our personas interested in? We're going to see that they're interested in wellness and sleep. We can be very specific based on the podcast episode. All of this human stuff is now given a framework by the customer journey map, and you are able to get here much faster because you use the AI. If you want to use the AI to also brainstorm this part, you can, of course, do that too. I'm not going to go into it in much detail in this webinar because it's more of a UX kind of crowd, but we have in the guide links about how to teach it how to write. So I have trained it so that I can paste in a case study. For example, here's a case study about Eli Lilly and Company. I paste in a case study and I give it the command LinkedIn, and it knows the structure of how I like a LinkedIn post. It's got a headline of a certain length. It has an introduction. Then it knows that it should pull out any statistics that are mentioned and end with a call to action and some hashtags. You can learn more about that when you download the slides. So you can use, as I said, AI throughout the whole life cycle, always using human insight and human value add to make sure that you're delivering quality. All right. So in conclusion, your next best actions: bring together your market data, start to think about where AI could be used in your organization, begin to train your AIs, use that to map audience journeys and requirements, and model your knowledge, domain, and metadata, and the content itself with the help of the AI. And then you can start designing. All right, thank you very much. If you're watching this, you can email me and get 20% off any Urbina Consulting workshop. That is a sales pitch where you can do more on this. You can talk about content and metadata modeling, mapping analytics to business metrics, and even the metaverse, which is a big topic that I love to talk about. Okay, I'm going to leave that up there, and I have 5 minutes for questions.
All right, awesome. Noz, thank you so much. And I can see Roxana's comment over here that this is the best event, so practical and tangible. He has attended in a really long time, and I can see so many questions landing in the chat. So while I'm scrolling through them, I would actually like to remind you that our team at Expressa offers to help you find the weak spots in your journey mapping process. This is a sales pitch as well, I think, and see how they can be improved. And we can also walk you through our AI personas builder and suggest some use cases that might help you speed up your process. So book a 30-minute call with our team by the link in the chat. And yes, we will share the slides later. Yep.
Absolutely. And yes, we will share a list of the prompts, and you have the full guide in there. I see a question that I want to address first. Can I answer it?
Yeah, go on. Just say it out loud, please, for everyone
Okay,
who's
so the
watching us.
question was from Michelle. How do you handle ethical concerns around feeding user interviews into AI? About, sharing the data, and if you signed non-disclosures when you're doing the interviews. Very good question. So most, if not all of the data that we feed into the AI has already been synthesized or anonymized. So we try to never put anyone's particular personal information in there. So no names, and if possible, it's been through a generalization already. If you want to put the interview straight in there, it can be anonymous. And also, if you're using a professional copy of most of these tools, now you have a non-training option. But that's if you get the business version. So if you're using the free one, if you're an independent, you have to be more careful and look at the terms and conditions of your particular AI you're using. But I know, for example, for ChatGPT Business, then you can tell it not to share that data with anyone except ChatGPT, which you're under a non-disclosure agreement with.
Awesome, Noz. Thank you so much. Michelle here as thank yous as well. Yeah, and just a quick question from Heather. Assuming this is ChatGPT 4, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, amazing. All right, we have another question from William, also about some ethical concerns, or rather hallucinations. So how do you address the issue of AI hallucinations that occur even with using your control data set? AI is still prone to make up insights that are not rooted in the data.
So what we're doing here is we're using AI for what it's best at, which is just talking like people. What an LLM is, it's basically humanity zipped up so that you can run queries against it. So you're not asking it to give you specific statistics or hard data. You're asking it to understand a profile and respond as that profile. Personas are not, data accurate. They're not. You can take some quotes, but you are representing a large number of people. So AI is fantastic at that. So hallucinations, they're not really a concern because we're not asking it to look up a particular data point, which it's going to fabricate. We're looking at to follow a pattern which is supplied from the research. So it's very good at that. So because of the way that we're using it, it's not such a problem. I've got another question in here which I really want to answer from Joe. And she said,
Sure, go.
this is really cool. Could you give it content draft and ask it if they have more questions or if it answered the goals? Absolutely. So we go back and forth between the writer AI, where we draft up ideas, and then we can give it back to the persona and ask their opinion. We can also give it to the writer AI, our own writing to the writer AI, and ask it, is this a good example? If I've already taught you how to write an article, can you give me tips on this article? Or can you give me, in general, tips on whether you think this is a good article? So we often we have circularity where we feed stuff back into the AI and have it give suggestions and checks.
Amazing. And I actually have a concern related question that I would love to end this session with, just so you can dissolve it, hopefully. Similar question from Lenny and Jessica. So this is cool, but are we not concerned companies are going to use ChatGPT to replace talking to real customers then? And what kind of guidance do you give teams using these AI-generated personas with respect to the fact that AI doesn't have lived experience to generate these stories?
So again, I want to do a reality check on what we were doing anyway. So a persona is a persona. It's not a real human. So if you think personas are useful at all, and if you think customer journey mapping is useful at all, this is a way to do that more dynamically, faster, more richly, but it has similar limitations to a persona. A persona is not the real customer, and it never will be. Will it replace talking to customers? There's always greedy, cheap clients, and there's people will ask you to to automate wherever you can. That's part of our job, is to defend the voice of customer and say, this is something we have done. It's based on customers. It's based on what we know. We should validate it. If they say no, they say no. I've had clients who say, you have 0 customer research dollars. Go design something. If that's the situation, that's the situation you have to work in. But this helps you put something together and go, hey, look at this journey I put together. It hasn't been validated. I've come up with this from my own head and the AI. We should really ask, our sales team, their trainers, the customer support people, and hopefully customers. But that's the same battle. So this doesn't change the usual UX discussion. It just gives you a new tool in your tool belt.
Great. Thank you so much. I hope that more companies will hear this and more of you here will also apply it to your projects and to your teams to convince them that AI is not the enemy here and it still won't take your job, only some of the tasks. And it's still your job to validate it all through research.